Hello guys, Elia here for another episode of The Pitch. This week I want to begin with the contest that I ran. I asked everyone to submit a question in the comments below regarding Nintendo sales, etc. And I used a random number generator to pick out a random person. The winner of the contest, drum roll please. Just kidding, was GamerBoy5897. We'll be coming back to his question a little later, but here's what I need from GamerBoy. I need you to go in the comments, leave what your Twitter username is. If you don't have a Twitter username, we'll figure something else out. Leave what your Twitter username is, and then follow me at Paleselan. That's P-A-L-E-S-E-L-A-N, and then I will DM you the code of the Alphadia Genesis. We should have a review up in the coming days from Jono, that's Jonathan Harlington. He did the review of Captain Toad, so that review will be up soon. Okay, but before I get into the actual question portion of this episode, I do want to touch on France, because we had some sales figures come out of France, and we usually don't get sales figures out of small countries like France. And you know, Nintendo is doing really, really well. Bayonetta 2, for example, sold more than 60,000 units since it launched in France. That's an attach rate of about 15% in the country. That's really, really good for a game. And considering that there were rumors saying that the game only sold 60,000 units in all of America, I'd say that that's pretty good for France, especially when their population is so much smaller than ours. I also wanted to talk about the fact that sales for the Wii U in France are up more than 50% year over year. Software sales are up 3 times over last year. Pokemon X and Y sold 190,000 units, which is 51% better than, that's Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, sold 51% better than Pokemon X and Y. They're anticipated to sell 200,000 units of Smash and 200,000 Amiibo figurines before the end of the year. They are planning to sell another 100,000 Wii U's before the end of the year, which will bring the total to 550,000. Pretty much, sales of Nintendo products in France are incredibly good, and it's kind of amazing considering that we don't really hear much out of France, and hearing these numbers come out is pretty great. Now coming back to GamerBoy's question, he asks, what game do you think Retro Studios is working on? I personally think it's the new Star Fox game. So first thing I want to touch on, I'm pretty sure it's not the new Star Fox game. There were some reports coming out recently about all the different studios and what games they're working on, and personally I think it's EAD Kyoto 5. That's the studio behind, at first it's going to sound weird, Wii Fit and Steel Diver. However, they're also the studio behind Star Fox 64. Currently we don't know what their project is, we don't know anything about what they're working on, and if I had to take a guess, it'd be this studio, because they did work on Star Fox 64 3D, and Miyamoto did point out that they needed a studio to kind of like help get the game out quicker. So that's what I think it would be. It's EAD Kyoto 5, because they did work on Star Fox 64 3D. However, I do want to talk about Retro Studios, because I'm convinced they're working on Metroid right now. I think that they have 2 teams, because they've done a lot of hiring in the last 2 years, and we did see Donkey Kong come out. That was their last game that they released, and I was convinced at that time too that they still had 2 teams going. I think they had already started on Metroid. If I had to take a bet, I'd say that we're going to get a Metroid either at the end of 2015 or the beginning of 2016. I think it might be one of those games that they push out past 2015 into the very beginning of 2016, just because Metroid has a very hardcore fan base that'll buy the game no matter what time of the year it comes out. So I think that Retro Studios right now is working on Metroid, and then perhaps in the last 6 months they've begun working on another project, and then in that case they'd have 2 development teams, which is what I think is happening over at Retro Studios. If they don't have 2 teams, I'd still be convinced they're working on Metroid, because that's what rumors swarming about it. They've done a ton of hiring. It's just what I think they'd be doing. Alright, I want to move on to the next question. Granddad Gamer asks, with the Wii U now boasting a great selection of exclusives, is it now time to reduce the console price dramatically? I believe that despite taking a hit per console, surely this will create momentum via second console syndrome. I completely agree. I think that the Wii U needs a drastic price cut. And why I believe that this is going to work is we just have to look at the 3DS. 3DS came out for $250. Didn't have all that much stuff at launch. I mean, I bought one at launch. But, they waited, and within no time, I think it was August, they announced a price drop. And at first, everyone was really wary. They're like, well, we put this money into it. They did the ambassador program. It was okay. But people weren't weren't sure whether this would ship units, and for a time period, the 3DS sold better than even the original DS because of the good price. So if I think that Nintendo should decrease the price on the Wii U. For example, just look at Black Friday. There were all these bundles and stuff for all the 3 different systems. Best price you get on PS4 was usually about $400, and you'd get a game or 2 with it, like GTA and Assassin's Creed. That's what my friend got for $400. Or you could go with the Xbox One, and the Xbox One was $330. I saw many places for $330 you got a $50 gift card to the store plus Assassin's Creed 4 and Unity. So for $330 you got a $50 gift card, so it's already $280 pretty much, plus 2 games. And it doesn't matter how great these games are, which Black Flag is actually really good. The fact is it's cheap, and the Wii U, the lowest I saw was $330 with 2 games. I mean, or $300. In some cases, I think Toys R Us was trying to get rid of the 8 gig model, and it was $250, but that's just not competitive with the Xbox One. You got 8 gigabyte, people are going to have to expand no matter what. So I think it is time, or it was time a month ago, to decrease the price of the Wii U to $250, at least temporarily, like what Microsoft's doing, in order to shift units, because it's not competitive right now. If you've got the Xbox One, the $330 with the $50 gift card and 2 games, who's going to choose a Wii U over that? I mean, sure, there's Smash, sure, there's Bayonetta, but, talking to a lot of my friends, and I'm a senior in high school anyway, and talking to a lot of my friends, they all came over to my house, love Smash Brothers, but the first thing on their mind right now is getting a PS4 and an Xbox One, not getting a Wii U. And if the Wii U sales were competitive, then they would be thinking about that over these other next-gen systems. So that's my opinion on the price thing. Jason Williams asks, do you know of any plans that Nintendo has to win back third-party support, or if at this point it's even possible? This is an excellent question, because it's one that I can actually answer, knowing, like, insight, being a media guy. So at E3 last year, I got the opportunity to speak from one of the higher-ups at Nintendo, who was in charge of going out and getting third-party support on the Wii U. And while I was talking to him, I was kind of really disappointed. I was just talking to him, where's the third-party support? Where are all these games? All these other systems are getting stuff like Tomb Raider and South Park. Why isn't it on the Wii U, etc., etc.? And this guy was kind of not... He was really nice about it, but he was not too happy about me grilling him. But incidentally, the way that we met is that we were at a indie party. It's where there were about 30 different indies that were displaying all their different games at that point. Anything from Costume Quest 2, which was later announced to be a Wii U game, to there was a lot of stuff there. And it was interesting because I saw this guy. He was as I said, one of the higher ups at Nintendo. His job was to go and find all these games that they were going to help publish on the Wii U. And I guess he's doing his job, because we saw Costume Quest and several other games I just don't remember off the top of my head at this indie event did end up making their way or are announced for the Wii U. So I think Nintendo right now isn't concentrating on getting big third parties on board. I think they're more concentrating on the indie side, and we know this. Curve Studios announced that their Wii U exclusive Stealth Inc. 2. They brought over a bunch of their games. I think they're going out of their way now to talk to third parties, and or to indies anyway, not third parties. And I think that's really, really good. So right now their approach, I do know for a fact that they're going out of their way to talk to indie studios, but obviously their third party support is lacking. And I think that's what we're going to be getting out of Nintendo coming up, is just this indie stuff. And it's not bad, it's not necessarily good, but it's what it is, and it's something that we as Wii U console owners and 3DS console owners, something that we're gonna have to put up with. And sure, there are a lot of indie games that are great, but it sure would have been nice to get something like Shadow Warrior on the Wii U. Okay, that's gonna finish off this episode of The Pitch. Thanks everyone for watching. Of course, as always, please head below in the comment section, leave any questions you have for me. I'll be sure to answer them eventually, and if you have any feedback, be sure to leave that as well, and visit nintendoenthusiast.com for all the latest news, reviews, and everything in general. Thanks everyone, see you next week.